Okay, I think this will be actually a broader discussion if I'm to pick from what you're saying, because it will take the European example as well. There are open doors even for working. I'm not quite familiar with that, but I know that there are certain things put in place where you can work in an European country. So probably what we need is to also establish such a thing in Nigeria, because the question you're going to ask, why would someone want to travel to another country and don't return? So there must be something we're missing, but I think this will be a discussion for another day with probably the governments involved so that we can examine this. So going back to the other things, not to take away from the point you made, Alisa, but just to say that there may be something else we need to explore regarding that. The other thing I picked up on from your contribution and that of Susan was interconnectivity, again, using the European countries, because you can actually go from one country to the other using train, using the different modes of transportation. So that makes it easy for them. So for countries that are closer to each other, I'm sure that if we're able to do that too in Africa, that should promote intra-African, tourism. The last thing I picked up on from your contributions is collaboration. Alisa, that's from you, collaboration. Nigeria brought up this idea and Ghana picked up on it, and it was good because it was a good product. So if we can collaborate amongst ourselves and develop products, programs in tourism where everybody can key into and actually be a regional bloc to even marketing those programs to the West, I think that will help. But those are the things that I picked up from your contribution. So Bonnie, we're going to go to you. Intra-Africa tourism. How do we
I think for South Africa specifically, we have one challenge that has been a lurking demon in South Africa is xenophobia.
Okay.
Xenophobia has created barriers between many countries in Africa and South Africa. And I do believe that these kind of networks that we are discussing and deliberating about is going to encourage social cohesion, understanding, tolerance, and out of there will come trade.
Go ahead.
And we'll be able to definitely look into the vision of Susan with borderless countries. One visa required for many countries. One of our greatest challenges in intra-Africa travel is the open sky policies. It's exorbitant costings. In the UK, in London, you would be able, for £50, you could go away to Amsterdam for the weekend. Africa is expensive. We need our airlines. We need more local airlines. We need more of our local people being involved in aviation. So that is one of the greatest deterrents, whether you are traveling from Johannesburg to even Botswana, never mind Nigeria or Lagos. It's sometimes much more expensive to travel or to fly to London than to go into Lagos or Mauritius, for that sake. So the open sky policies needs definitely to be added to the borderless countries and possibly a single visa. Then we will definitely start shaping and getting people to start enjoying Africa. Our products are brilliant.
They are.
Whether you're starting from the pyramids, you coming to East Africa, you in Nigeria, you are in Vic Falls, you're swimming down Kilimanjaro, or you climb up Kilimanjaro and you come down the Nile. There are such wonderful experiences and products. And of course, the world is definitely supporting and exploring those products. But we need to start talking to one another, collaborating with one another, so that jointly we form our networks to be able to promote these things holistically. And I think that the forthcoming conference, which is the Maiden Conference, will be one of the will be a foundation where this kind of discussions will start.
I agree with you totally. I agree. So, is there any role for investors in making intra-African travel and tourism viable? Bonnie?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Your investors from the global economies are more than welcome to come and partner with local people to bring in their name brands that are all international and local clients enjoy certain name brands, and also develop certain experiences and learn from what Africa has to offer also in the term of entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship has been born in Africa.
Yeah.
People have learned to survive in such meager situations. But when you look at the African woman, when she's dressed up and so regal and so beautiful with whether it's the African prince or whether it is the Nigerian lace or whatever it is, one doesn't ever see how difficult that person's life must have been.
Yeah.
Totally. So the investors are definitely needed. And I think they can learn a lot from Africa. And also, they will grow their dividends a lot more from Africa. I'm very sure they can make more money in Africa than the rest of the other economies.
They actually do currently.
Yeah.
For those who are here, I think they do currently. Yes.
I think we have a lot of unique experiences that investors would find it's very exciting for them to journey into an entrepreneurship journey in tourism that you wouldn't find in Europe or in the USA. So the whole journey of development while you are an investor can also enhance their lives also.
Yeah.
And plus, through collaboration, you'll come through a greater understanding of what Africa has to offer.
I agree. Thank you. In fact, I've taken note of a different two topics that we're going to explore in this show. I had mentioned the first one. The second one will be basically on investors. What are the strategies to get investors to begin to invest in tourism in Africa, which will actually aid, intra-African tourism. And investment doesn't have to come from outside Africa. It can be within Africa. Actually, I would go for it coming from within Africa, Okay, so Susan, what are the investor rules? How do we prepare ourselves to get investors to come in?
I can say this much to investors generally, that irrespective of the little differences that we have, we Africans, we are very homely people. So definitely they will be welcome. And that alone very encouraging for them. And they should also look at the line of air transport investment. Because Bonnie said something that is very expensive. Our connectivity in Africa it's not good at all. Sometimes to go to a neighboring African country, you have to go away from the country and come back.
Yes.
The country. So I would encourage investors in that aspect in terms of transport, air transport, rail transport. These are major investment here. Yeah. And like Bonnie has said, and you have also said, Africa will always give you return on investment. And looking for the kind of investment when it has to do with the air, this transport will be the kind of investment that is focused on turnover, more of turnover. So it can be as affordable as possible. And the open sky issue is something that we need to deal with. so that we can have more investors on that aspect of transport. I would really love it that I can take a train from Lagos or from Abuja all the way to Johannesburg. I would really love it.
Oh, wow.
Or to Ghana, or to Kenya.
We can do Ghana. I don't know about Johannesburg because
to Kenya. It's something that I really love. So, and that is major investment we are talking about here. And that is really needed for us. So there is room for investment. Africa is still virgin in terms of there are a lot of opportunities. And at least from my own perspective, this much I know about Nigerians. Yeah, we welcome investors. We treat them like kings, actually. We make them feel at home. They usually don't want to go back. And I'm sure it's the same thing for every other country in Africa as well. So we're very much open to investment. We need it. We need the investors to come in. And these are the major areas that the investors should go into. And we also have the population in Africa to give back returns on investment. Africa is a green land. I know what I mean by a green land. It is green. Meaning anything you plant there always grows. That is an assurance for investors. And another thing I will say here, we need to start changing the narratives.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, we know how the world sees us in Africa, yeah. But we in Africa we know better. Yeah. So let's start changing narratives.
Yeah.
Starting with ourselves from home. What's that saying? Begins at home. Something about something starting from home.
Charity begins at home.
Thank you very much. So let's start changing the narrative about ourselves first and foremost. How we see ourselves. Africa is not where you have the worst crime, or you have the worst people, or you have the worst anything. It's not like that. Yeah. It's a propaganda that has been over-exaggerated.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you.
Really over-exaggerated. I know there's this concept of keep saying something. The more you say it, the people will believe.
It sticks. Yeah, it sticks.
It sticks. So it's like they have sold this narrative so much. Even we Africans, we have believed it. But in the real sense of it, that is not what it is. It's not true. It's really over-exaggerated. So we need to start changing the narrative. Yeah. Because I feel that narrative is what scares a lot of investors too as well. The narrative out there is what scares investors. So we have a lot of work to do in-house on that narrative issue so that investors will be comfortable to come in and invest. Thank you.
Thank you. Alisa, any contribution about investors? How do we get them in?
Yeah, you know, the total value chain has vast opportunities. One can think anything at all. We can even get investors from Nigeria to come into Ghana. Ghana, for instance, has much of its attractions in its natural states. We need more investors to invest and sustain these sites, creating artificial sites like Dubai. You know, Dubai has done it. They've added value to their raw natural state roaming.
Exactly.
So it could be from Nigeria, yeah, even within Ghana, so that, and Ghana, another one is also our infrastructure that gives access to the sites. So we ask for investors, and I will hammer on investors from Nigeria. You know, we are close, we are brother and sister.
Yeah.
To come and invest in Ghana.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, so that's fine. Like I said,
you know, within Africa to Africa, whilst we are working within Africa, investors come from within Africa, as you rightly said. Yeah, I agree to that. So I think this is all that I can say on the role of investors.
Thank you so much. We're going to come back to this some other time in another segment of this show.